to Corinne's Picks. I'm your host, Corinne Basabe. Today we have a special program. We're going to be talking about drawing and animation. We have Kimathi Innis, the owner of Master Drawing Japan. He's also an instructor at the Sokei Academy of Art and in Japan. Um, Kamathi, I hope I got the name of your school, your school and the academy where you work correctly. You can correct me. Welcome to the show.
Yes,
Okay,
I'm honored. Uh, uh-huh.
so I know that you've had a long career with film, with animation, with drawing. We're going to talk a lot about your work, but we're also going to talk about your discipline in, I guess, teaching others animation and drawing. Tell us a little bit about your work. What is it that you're doing with your drawing?
Well, mainly right now, a lot of my work is really to inspire my students because I'm teaching a lot of classes here and running seminars on drawing and animation. I've been doing this, I think, maybe since 2000, 2013, 2014. And actually, I kind of like fell into this because when I first came out here to Japan, oh my God, it's been a long time. Back in 2004, I came here to work on a film project. And then I started working with a production company here in Tokyo. And they asked me to work on, to work in their animation department. There was an animation project that they were working with some studios in Los Angeles, actually. So that, I'm sorry, it's going to be a little bit of a long story, but that really, I guess, was like the entrance in terms of my career into animation. So actually, it's gonna be a very, very long story. So I don't want to talk too much, but it might be better if you just keep on asking me questions about it.
Okay. I'm a little bit distracted by your T-shirt. What is that logo? Tell me a little bit about the logo on your T-shirt.
This actually, I think it's kind of fitting. This logo actually is from a very popular TV, animated TV show ran in Japan called Gachiman. And Gachiman was licensed by an American studio. I think it was called like Sandy Frank or something like that. And they repurposed it, or they repackaged it as a show called Battle of the Planets or G-Force. And actually, yeah, G-Force Battle of the Planet, or Gatchaman, or you want to call it, was actually like one of my first introductions to the Japanese culture. Actually, so this actually has played a part in terms of me coming over here.
Yeah, I know that you've been interested in Japanese culture and Asian culture, even when were in the States and you're fluent in Japanese and maybe some other languages as well.
Mm.
So tell us a little bit about the influences of that culture and your art, and then we can also maybe we. I want to start showing some of your work so that people can see who you are and what you do. So as the images flash, the first, tell us a little bit about what you're doing in your art, but also how the culture is influencing your work.
Oh, okay, all right. That's all right. This is gonna be a little hard because actually, when I first came to Japan, I didn't really, I don't think I did. Um, Draw so much in this particular style. Like this is um, a caricature of an elephant that I did like many years ago for some project. And as you can see, like there's a little bit of, let's say, like a Disney kind of like influence on it. And to go back to my story in terms of my interest into the animation here And actually, it's kind of funny. I kind of went full circle because when I first came here, I didn't really have like much interest in American animation per se. I mean, of course, I had a little bit, but I think I was really enamored with Japanese animation. But like the more I studied anime, I kept on coming back to what was going on over at Walt Disney Animation Studio. And I think before, and as many people might have, if they don't know much about it, they might think, oh well, like Disney is just, this machine that cranks out a lot of just like pablum for kids and things like that. But I came to see that Disney actually was one of the actually I think it was one of the greatest studios of the 20th century. And Disney was always trying to get around this thing about well, actually they would call it saying like creating like an illusion of life. I think like Walt was doing that from the very 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 beginning, but not just doing caricatures, but making uh, making characters that seem real and connected with the audience. So my drawings, like these past two, like the elephant or the cat or this dog here. I always try to make sure like there's something, even if it's like in the eyes or like in the gesture that people can connect with.
What are some of the decisions you're making in terms of color palette? Because I noticed some of them, like with this one, the eyes are the only ones that actually have a color other than black. So what are your decisions that you're making in terms of color?
Oh, well, that's just a matter of contrast. Because actually, I mean that's how our brains work. I mean, when things start to look the same, our brains, kind of tend like to tune that out. But then, like when there's a little bit of like a change, our attention like goes right to that. So instead of like using like very like loud and like bright like garish colors, sometimes I try to use colors that are a little bit muted, or even if there are there's like a range of colors, I try not to make it like too not too bright, because like when you put a contrast of a brighter value in there, something like you get this pop, and I've been accused of drawing characters, that have like very a lot of expression in the eyes. So, I thought this would be a little bit interesting here in terms of like making the eyes like a little bit yellowish
So
red here.
how did you master the art of drawing? Like, are you self-taught or did you go to a school? Like, how are you learning this craft?
Well, I'm partially self-taught, but I did study drawing when I was at Howard University, um, and no slight at Howard. I know I won't fault them completely for it. I don't think I learned that much in terms of drawing. I mean, because I was always drawing my entire, well, not exactly not my entire life, but ever since I was a kid. And but a lot of I think if any well, I can put it this way, I think I was one of these people that maybe had like a modicum of like something called talent, I guess, but I didn't have much skill, to be honest. I mean, I think I was going off like a lot of just playing like this inspiration. But when again, like this whole thing of me coming full circle again in terms of coming to Japan and then like discovering um, Western animation or Western approach towards drawing. My I discovered an instructor by the name of Glenn Vilppu, who's one of the senior instructors at the Walt Disney Animation Studio. And I brought him over here back in 2014 to teach a series of drawing workshops. And I would like to think, I think it was at that time, I think he adopted me as one of his one of his students, because I've been a student there ever since, and I'm still studying under him now, even though he's well into his 80s now.
I think it's worth mentioning that your practice, which is called Master Drawing Japan, your studio where you teach students, many people have come through your students from Disney, from I forgot the other, was it Pixar,
Uh,
but just notable
well,
companies.
mhm.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You're could you? I'm sorry. Could you repeat that? Because
I was
the
just
last
saying
thing you said,
that
it
it
dropped out.
was worth mentioning that even in your school, you have a school in Japan called Master Drawing Japan, that a lot of notable
Mhm,
students have come from very big companies, and
mhm.
also gone on to big careers in some of these companies. And I mentioned um, animation companies like DreamWorks, Pixar. I
Right,
believe it's
right.
Pixar, right? So,
Well, the Olympics are the same thing these days now. But well, actually, well, again, a lot of I have to credit a lot to Glenn, really, because he's really been um, mentoring students from the beginning. Um, the main reason why I brought, again, like Glenn Vilppu was teaching draftsmanship and academic drawing at Disney back in the 70s. So basically, he's the guy that trained all the animators in self draftsmanship during the Disney Renaissance of the 1980s, 1990s. There isn't a person like, all those people that were working on things like Lion King or Beauty and the Beast, or all those during that song of hand drawn animation. I don't think there was a person there that didn't take his class. And that being said, I actually, like, Glenn is considered like one of the best draftsmen alive today in the world. I don't think there's a person who works in comics or illustration that doesn't, um, if not hasn't referenced his books, at least knows who he is. And
so
but
the
anyway.
The next series of images really focus more on your school and how to learn how to draw, because you did mention there's a difference between talent and craft, and I think that's a really important distinction. So
Yeah.
the next few images, I think this image, and then there's a few, there's the two videos. Can you just talk a little bit about what we're seeing?
Okay. This one actually is the only, well, something I think from the series that I can actually say that has a little bit of a Japanese influence. Obviously, because of this cat, that's wearing what we call it, a Japanese hakama. It's not a kimono, but it's kind of like it's a formal piece of Japanese wear. But what I can say that in terms of the design, so what makes like Japanese design different from, like, let's say, like a Western approach, is the difference between, let's say, chiaroscuro. It's like in where we're always trying to get this sense of like three dimensionality in terms of when rendering the object. Like we're always trying to get this sense of like of a three-dimensional feel, as compared to Eastern culture that tends to be a little bit more two-dimensional, which they call kota. So if you ever like look at like old like Japanese or even Chinese paintings, let's say from like 100 years ago or whatever, their sense of perspective is usually like they would layer things, right? Give a sense of perspective. in the West, I mean, we try to actually get like
Kimathi,
a
I'm
yes,
going
yes,
to
yes.
we're going to continue talking about that style and the
Okay.
differences. We're going to go to a commercial break and then we'll be right back.
Okay, sure, no problem.
Kids!
I don't want to talk about it.
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 Families don't have to talk about everything, but they should talk about how to plan for an emergency.
Kids, you all right?
This family's prepared. Get tips and resources to make your family's emergency plan. Go to nyc.gov/readyny or call 311 for more information.
This is the story of a boy who didn't talk for a long time. The boy liked things to always be the same. Any changes would scare and upset him. The unknown was an unfriendly place. The boy was very sensitive to lights and sounds. So he built secret hiding places where they couldn't get in. The boy didn't like looking people in the eye. He wasn't trying to be mean, it just made him feel uncomfortable. Sometimes he would flap his arms again and again.
One day, I found out I have something called autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I found my voice and learned all the ways I could live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
Welcome back to Corinne's Picks. We have Kimathi Innis. We have Ki Innis from Master Drawing Japan. We were talking about drawing techniques before commercial. Can you just continue with that thought process?
Sure. So I'll try to go back to what I was talking about in terms of like the major difference between a Japanese or East Asian approach towards versus a Western approach, which is in the Eastern culture, you have a design technique called notan, which is basically it's a very flat and two-dimensional approach towards rendering or drawing. But the good side about it is that it reads very clearly, like almost like a logo. So so from very very far away, you can identify it very very clearly. As opposed to in the West, we have chiaroscuro, which is it's like three-dimensional. We're talking about like Michelangelo, or Caravaggio, where you have like this use of like light and shadow to give like a sense of depth and perspective. So in that drawing, I kind of was inspired by this one artist. I think his not Hokusai, but his name was it's Cuts. Oh, I'm so sorry. I can't remember his name right now. It's skipping right now. But he was a contemporary of Hokusai. It'll come to me in a moment. So I decided to play around with that myself. With that.
Okay, I see that the line in the center of the face. And are you like doing the proportions of the face first, or doing some kind of mathematical thing with it first?
Oh, that's interesting. Well, this was a pen sketch, and I have a tendency, to draw it in a sketchy way sometimes, and I like leaving in uh, the uh, the the sketch lines or the guidelines, kind of like that they show my process. If you notice, actually, there were some lines like around like the nose and the eyes and
Right.
the yeah. I actually I adapted this from something that's called the Riley method of drawing. The Riley method was kind of a mathematical way of finding like the rhythms that fits in terms of rendering a portrait. And yeah, so this is one approach to that I have of many. But in terms of like drawing like a face, actually, the writing method is very very well. It's a very good tool. It's a very very good tool.
I think the next few images also show a little bit of the planning process of your work. Like for
Hmm.
example, this one, it looks like you're drawing shapes first,
Hmm.
trying to get the outline of the body.
Hmm. Well, actually, it's a little bit. My approach is a little bit different. Actually, I used to draw um, from like let's say like from like the outside in, um, and that's kind of something that comes out of animation because in animation, you know, they need people to be able to very quickly, and the thing is like in terms of animation, the whole thing. Of course, I think you understand the concept of like persistence of vision, right? So so even though we think we're seeing Tom chasing Jerry across the screen, actually what we're really seeing are just like the shapes, and that's what reads in our mind. We see like this large shape and a smaller shape. Of course, they're offset at a certain angle. And of course, there are details, of course, that says cat and mouse. But that was really for the purpose of like drawing very quickly. And it's just one way of drawing, but actually, like recently, I prefer like to try to draw from the inside out.
Okay,
Because
so I think
actually,
that the next image is actually you drawing. I think there's like some images of you drawing and some videos too.
oh yeah, yeah. Well, this drawing here is again, this is just me just sketching. I mean, this is I would wanted to actually this is just a little exercise do that that I wanted to show uh, the the gesture that would be captured of someone like being or falling off a horse after getting shot. But I hope that reads clearly in terms of like the action or the story that's happening here.
So can we have the next images, please, or the video?
Figure drawing classes over at Sokei.
So you're
Yeah,
actually drawing from live models, I see. Tell us
yeah,
about
yeah, yeah. But life drawing is very, 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 very important. And actually, that's the major thing that I do focus on. Really is figure drawing. I mean, I want my students to be able to um, master draftsmanship as best as possible. So then they can have the freedom to draw in any way that they want. The whole thing in terms of like draftsmanship and like anatomy, that sort of thing really wasn't taught in art schools like for the past few generations. Um, Even my instructor Glenn Vilpu, even he said that when he was coming up, they I think they didn't even he always says like they didn't even allow a skeleton in the school. And I guess academia goes to these phases in terms of like what is the priority for students to learn, and I guess maybe are feeling that the priority was the idea or the concept to cultivate their students um, to come up with ideas rather than drawing from reality and then coming with ideas after that.
So what is the most important thing? Like if somebody goes to master drawing Japan, what is the thing that you really want to impart in students that's your brand?
Well, actually, what I wanted to give my students was an opportunity to take master classes from and engage directly with noteworthy in realms of animation or in concept art. Right now, I mean, I guess because of the internet, I mean, there's a lot more accessibility to people in general. But in terms of what I want them to get, I want them to be able to have the opportunity to speak directly and get direct feedback from these basically from these masters of animation and concept art and illustration.
Okay, so where's your work going to? I mean, where's your personal work heading in the future?
That's a good question. It's a very, very good question. I'm hoping, to make some projects in the future, that are going to be a little bit more personal. Maybe say something maybe a little bit about me and maybe about my own little personal history. I think I've gone out of my way, like not to draw typical things like, oh, well, I'm living in Japan, so I guess I'm going to draw my daily life in Japan. I think that's what people kind of expect, and I think I've kind of rebelled against that. I don't draw pictures of like samurai and ninjas and stuff like that. I mean, there's a lot of that stuff coming out of the United States, so I don't think they need me to contribute to that. So I think it'll be better in the future if I can create something that is something of my individual experience here, as well as my life growing up in the United States.
That's terrific. Thank you so much for being on Corinne's Picks. I look forward to seeing more about your art and your school. Thank you.
Okay.
My mother was always
thank you very
very
much.
familiar with her neighborhood, but one day she stopped at the stop sign for much longer than usual, and she didn't know whether she should go forward or turn, and she wasn't even really sure where she was at. It was very unsettling for her.
I felt so much better after my son told me, Mom, I don't want you to worry or be afraid. I'll be there for you and we'll figure it out.
I know what you're thinking. I need a job.
Well, I've been there.
I've been there.
But you gotta keep going.
You just need the right skills. Find an apprenticeship.
I found a course online.
You can do this.
You will find something.
You will find something new.